Obrecht?
Here.
Pogge?
Here.
Russell?
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Welcome everyone, and thank you for pivoting with us on a change in how we're going to conduct the meeting tonight. This occurred pretty quickly, but in reviewing some of the latest data and listening to some of the latest reports about noon today, I talked to AJ and we felt it was best to conduct this meeting virtually and to take some further action on the city as well for the time being. Seeing some disturbing numbers coming out of Polk and Dallas counties in the last few days, and combined with some other information, so we felt best and prudent to take this action. And again, we'll closely monitor this. Derek did a great job as far as getting a lot of information out
Joined the meeting
on city functions, and so we will keep that updated and keep monitoring that. But at least for the time being, we'll be conducting our meetings virtually for now. So welcome everybody who's joining us tonight as well. And so I'd like to just go over a few items as far as how we'll conduct the meeting as we move forward tonight again. Again, all lines calling into the meeting are initially muted, and public comments will be taken only during the citizens forum and during the certain items that people have requested to be heard on those items tonight. If you're joining by the computer, please use the chat function that's located at the bottom to let the city clerk know that you'd like to speak on an item. And if you could please enter your name and address and note the agenda item that you want to speak to, then we will recognize you at the appropriate time. If you're joining by phone and you're not able to use the chat feature, please wait until Nicole asks if there are any more comments, and at that time we'll open up the telephone lines for any further comments at that time. So again, each vote will be done with the iPad system tonight, and hopefully those results should be displaying after each vote tonight. So again, thank you everyone for your patience and understanding as we move forward and work through this, and we'll get through it again today virtually again. So with that, if you could please stand as you're able to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Urbandale is a national leader in character counts, endeavoring at all times to promote and model the principles of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In conducting tonight's meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a respectful manner consistent with these principles. Item 2 is to approve the agenda. I'll ask for a motion in a second.
Hopefully you see that coming up. I have a motion by Obrecht, second by Pogge.
Okay, further discussion? If not, please vote. That passes. Thank you. Item 3, presentations. We do have a very special proclamation for our Urbandale Library for this year for the Urbandale All Reads program. I'd like to read that. Whereas the City of Urbandale and the Urbandale Public Library recognize the importance of forging connections with local residents. And whereas one book, one community programs like All Urbandale Reads have unified cities across the United States. And whereas the Urbandale Public Library has selected The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, a powerful story of war, courage, and the redemptive power of storytelling, as the 2020 All Urbandale Reads book. And whereas the culmination of the 2020 Urbandale Reads program will feature community book discussions, educational programs, and special events designed to bring residents together through literacy and strengthen bonds within our community. So now, therefore, I, Robert Andeweg, Mayor of the City of Urbandale, on behalf of the Urbandale City Council and the Urbandale Public Library, do hereby promote the All Urbandale Reads program and the reading of this excellent book to all Urbandale residents. So that is going to be another great program, and we look forward to that, at least doing it the best way we can virtually moving forward. But Also, I'd like to recognize, I think, is Laura on the line, Laura Sauser from the library.
I'm here. Thank you, Mayor Antwig. You know, we were going to do this proclamation back in April, and then we closed. And this program is really about bringing the community together through literacy. And so it seems really timely right now, since we've been trying to spend so much time away from each other, that we would do something that will try to bring us together, at least in spirit. The Things They Carried is written as a memoir of someone's time in Vietnam. And the title really represents kind of the physical and emotional things that soldiers carry with them to and during and from their wartime experience. And so we have a variety of community book discussions planned, as well as some really great programs that honor veterans that will take place throughout the end of 2020. So I hope that you will, even though the library is closed, you can still check out materials through our curbside pickup. So I hope you will check out a copy of this great book starting today. They're available. And I want to thank our committee who read several books and helped us choose this one. And we think it's a really strong program for 2020. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Laura. And thank you to the library for promoting this and doing this, and something that the city can, all our residents can take part of. So thanks for doing that. All right, we'll move on to item 4, which is the citizens forum. This is your opportunity to address the council on something that's not a part of tonight's agenda. And I'll ask Nicole, first of all, if we have anyone that is registered.
I did not have anybody registered for Citizens Forum. Most of the responses we've had have been in agenda items.
Okay. Yep. Do we want to open up the telephone line then to see if there's anyone that would like to address the council during Citizens Forum?
Yes, I've unmuted any of the call-in lines if you'd like to speak for Citizens Forum.
Okay, so if you'd like to speak, the opportunity is now on Citizens Forum. Okay, hearing none, then we will move on. Item 5, the adoption of minutes. First is item 5.1, the City Council minutes from the June 16, 2020 meeting. I'll ask for a motion in a second.
A motion by Obrecht. Second by Russell.
Further discussion? If not, please vote. That passes.
My nay should be an aye.
Okay, that passes. Item 5.2 are the minutes from the June 23, 2020 meeting.
A motion by Blake. Second by Obrecht.
Discussion? If not, please vote. That passes. Dave, did you mean to be an aye?
I hit it too soon, apparently.
Okay. All right, that passes. Thank you. Item 3, or 5.3 was the forum from June 25, 2020.
A motion by Blake, second by Pogge.
Discussion, please vote.
And I was fast fingers this time, so my nay should be an A. Yay.
Yeah, I need to get that button moved. All right,
Yeah.
that is corrected. Here we go. Yep.
All right, thank you. That passes. Item 6 is the consent agenda. We have 13 items for approval. Motion in a second.
A motion by Carberry Montgomery. Second by Pogge.
Discussion, please vote. That passes. Thank you. Or did you want to comment at this time?
I did. Although I voted in support of the consent agenda, I just had some comments related to item 6.6, which was the mayor's appointments to various boards and commissions. Based on a meeting or listening session that we held last week and just ongoing attempts for the city to be more inclusive. I think our boards and commission is an excellent opportunity for the city to really help support leadership development throughout our entire community. And so based on that, I would like to encourage the mayor and staff as appropriate to add a spot for race and ethnicity on the application for boards and commissions. And secondly, I would like to, and I don't know what would be required if this is a council action or not, but to add a specific position to the Economic Development Advisory Board for a minority-owned business person.
Okay.
That is all I have on that item.
Thanks, Bridget. And then you and I again have spoken on this earlier. And I certainly will work with AJ and staff to look at something as far as what our application is online and what we can do. And I have not had a chance to talk to AJ or Curtis on the Economic Development Advisory Board, but that's something certainly I would look at as well. So we need to look at both those items, and I will endeavor to do so. With that, we will move on then to item 7, the public hearings. First is item 7.1, the public hearing continued from the previous meeting, and the applicant has they've asked to continue. Could some please mute your lines if possible.
I think I got us taken care of there.
Okay.
And Christy should have the screen here. So Christy is ready to present on this one.
Okay, so I will turn this over to our Chief Planner, Christy Bales. Christy?
Good evening. On the public hearing today that was continued from a prior agenda item, we have the Ashford Ridge Apartment project. It's a rezoning from R3 low density multifamily district to PUD planned unit development district. On the screen in front of you is an outline of the Ashford Ridge apartment complex located at the intersection of Douglas Avenue and Patricia Drive. There are 2 access points onto Patricia. The parcel has a little over 7 acres in size and has 4 apartment buildings and then a clubhouse office building as well. You may recall there was a fire, and I'll circle it just ever so slightly. And this building, this 4th multifamily building, there was a fire, and that building has been demolished, and they had their demolition permit, and they're seeking to rebuild that building. The property, though, is lawfully non-conforming in the R3 zone district. So in order to rebuild that, we met with representatives from Hubble on how to proceed in what's the best way, and that was to go with the planned unit district zone change in order to recognize some of those prior design outlays of the district. This site plan was originally approved in 1978, so it's been around for a while, has had a few amendments to the site plan in the following years from that. So staff put together the Ashford Ridge PUD master plan to recognize kind of the existing conditions, take those into account. This will make the whole site legally conforming. They'll be able to proceed then with a site plan and a building permit for that fourth apartment building to be reconstructed. When the Planning and Zoning Commission had their public hearing, we did hear from some of the neighbors. The original proposal, just to be clear, included a possibility for a 5th multifamily building. As noted in your staff report, that proposal was taken off the table by Hubble, so the 5th building is no longer under consideration. It's just to rebuild that 4th building. I see staff is recommending approval of the zone change. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the zone change when they had their hearing on May 11th. Chris Sidoris from Hubble Realty is on the call. I'll take any questions you may have first, but she's here as well to answer any questions on the project itself.
Christy, I've got a question. In the comments from the neighbors that were included, there was also concern related to parking, which was one of the reasons they didn't want to see a fifth building added. But even if they rebuild the fourth building, the parking situation would still be a problem. Do you feel comfortable with what is presented for their parking, even though it's under the required amount for that zone, if I'm reading everything correctly?
You're correct. It is under the required amount for the zoning area. However, when the site plan comes forward, we will require the addition of about 12 more stalls. We got to a number that we felt comfortable in terms of ratio for parking requirements, but that will require them to add a few more parking stalls. I know there was some concern about parking on Patricia, but parking on street is legal as long as they, park properly away from different site guidelines. I'll put like driveways, fire hydrants, that sort of thing. But so we can't really do anything about on-street parking, but the site plan, when it comes forward, will require the addition of 12 more spaces.
Great. I'm glad to hear that there'll be at least a handful more. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the council at this time? Okay, this item is a public hearing, so I'm going to open that up. I'll first open it up to the applicant. Chris, did you want to make any comments first on behalf of the applicant?
I do. Real quickly, thank you, Mayor and Council. A couple of items. Chris Sidoris, I'm Vice President of Development with Hubble Realty. I want to acknowledge a couple of things. Obviously, we did have a devastating fire here. We thank the efforts of your fire department and obviously those departments that supported it. We had a very obviously positive outcome. Certainly we're not happy that the building was destroyed, but we had no loss of life, and that's really the critical component. So I want to acknowledge that effort because that honestly, given the devastation of the fire, went very, very well. I also want to acknowledge staff here who has worked with us. This is a very unique position. All we are trying to do is to build the building back, and they have worked with us to figure out how to make that happen. I appreciate the ability to continue this a couple of times. We've had a very unique kind of journey with our insurer here, but we are to the point that obviously the building's down and we're ready to come back. We did take obviously the notes that you saw from the neighbors very seriously. We did remove the request for the additional building. And then we had one additional neighbor, Mr. Hoffmaster, who had concerns with regards to trash. So we actually met with him on site with our staff as well as our construction folks to listen to his comments and kind of explain to him how we've addressed. We've also gone ahead and done the work on the trash request that staff had required even prior to any construction that's gone back. So, and again, they just addressed the parking issue. So we feel like we've been responsive to the actual items that are in here. And we do agree with the PUD requirements that staff had given to us. So we appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Again, this item is a public hearing, and I'll open up to any further comment. Nicole, did you have anyone registered to comment on this item?
I did not have anyone registered. I did just unmute any of the call-in lines. So if you were on a call-in and you'd like to speak.
Okay. So again, this item is a public hearing on the Ashford Ridge Apartments, and we'll accept any public comments from anyone on the telephone lines at this point. Okay, hearing none, then is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So motion by Pogge, second by Obrecht.
Discussion, please vote.
Oh, I apologize. I will share the vote screen here.
And that passes. So then I'd ask for a motion and a second on the first reading of the ordinance.
A motion by Blake, second by Obra.
Discussion. Please vote.
Nicole, if you'd move my nay over to an A. There, thank you.
I have corrected that
Okay.
for you. You bet.
All right, and that passes. Thank you. All right, moving on then to item 8 is to establish a date for the public hearing for the 2020 sanitary sewer lining program. And Christy would again answer any questions on this.
Mr. Mayor, this is AJ. I should have read Dave McKay will answer any questions on that. I had the wrong line for your notes.
Well, I saw Christy there, but I was thinking too. So
nope, I made a mistake. I apologize.
I thought this was more of a Dave item, but Dave would answer any questions if there are. But again, this is to establish July 28 as the hearing date for this. I'd ask for a motion in a second.
A motion by Blake, second by Russell.
Discussion. Please vote.
And again, because of my reflexes, if you could, there you go. Thank you.
Gotcha.
That passes. Thank you. Item 9, regular agenda items. First is item 9.1, the equipment purchase for the building inspector vehicle. Now, this is Christy, right? Okay. And Christy would answer any questions on this item if there are. I'd ask for a motion in a second.
A motion by Blake, second by Pogge.
Discussion. Please vote.
And I should be a yes on that again, Nicole, sorry.
Thank you. Nope, those buttons are right on top of each other, so that is corrected for you.
That passes. Thank you. Item 9.2, the 2080 agreements for the ground lease operations and maintenance of the Metropolitan Salt Storage Facility. And to introduce this is Tim Stovey. Tim.
Thank you. I'm going to take you back on the history of this building a little bit because it's more interesting than what's on the agenda tonight. But back in 2007, after a series of bad winters, a bunch of cities in the Des Moines area got together to try to solve a problem. The problem was none of us had enough salt storage for an entire season. Salt is very expensive to get in January and February, and also winter delivery is very unreliable. And also, the salt mine can be overwhelmed. So we had a lot of winters where salt supplies got very low, and it was a concern that our streets weren't going to be safe. So, and another thing, none of us cities could afford to expand, construct our own salt storage facilities. So in 2008, we constructed 2 buildings in Grimes with 8 of the cities. The building was funded by Metro Waste Authority and constructed on the transfer station site in Grimes. There's two buildings out there in West Des Moines. Des Moines has a 10,000 facility, and us other 8 cities share a 12,000 facility. Over the last 12 years, the facility has operated flawlessly. It's been a big success, and by not having to purchase salt during the winter, it's really paid for itself over the last 12 years. 2 things have recently happened. Des Moines built a new public works. They're vacating their building and turning that over to Metro Waste. So the first 2080 agreement, the ground lease agreement, is just to take the transaction. The second thing that happened is West Des Moines, their own salt storage facility, and they're vacating the facility. So per the prior 2080, they're turning over their capacity to the other cities based on their percentage of capacity. So that's a long story short. One other thing, West Des Moines used to be the administrator of the facility. Now Urbandale, since we're the biggest user, is going to be the facility administrator. Our costs are going to go up slightly, but now we've got a lot of excess storage in that building. So there is an opportunity to get some revenue from some counties and cities that are in salt storage, additional salt storage. And there's plenty of demand for that. So with that, I would be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Tim. Any questions for Tim from the council?
Yeah, I just have a quick one. This is Ron. With our new facility being built over on Hickman, plus the one out west, do we still need this?
Short term, yes. We've got about 2,400 tons of capacity at Public Works, which is about typical for a normal year. We've got 1,800 tons stored up in Grimes, which is just in case of a horrible winter. So we don't have any plans to build anything out west, but eventually and that need in Grimes may go away. That facility in Grimes probably has a life. It's when we build it, 20 to 25 years. It'll probably last 25 years. So we'll eventually need that storage out west for the Grimes facility to go away. But immediately, yes, we do need that facility.
Since we have that extra capacity, can you guarantee that we won't need that salt?
Well, we've, in the last, I think, about 7 or 8 years, we've only hauled out of there once. So then that's a good thing. Then if we don't need it, that's good.
I agree.
This is Dave McKay. Just to add in, the Waterford in 170th facility we looked at that was for tilt up was around 700,000, was nowhere near the capacity that we would have in Grimes. So that facility out west would be a very expensive facility to build to be able to get rid of Grimes. Just to keep that in the back of your mind.
All right, thanks, Dave.
This is just a question because I don't know anything about salt storage. Do you like rotate it, or is there lifespan on the salt, or can it just sit there until we need it?
Well, there really is. It'll last quite a while. We did have an issue. We had a series of very mild winters, and there are 7,000 tons of salt buried in the back of that Grimes, and it was basically like a salt block. We had to go in there hard. So it does not have a life. If it gets old, it can be difficult to manage.
Okay. Further questions or comments? If not, we have 2 items for approval. For a
motion by Blake. I have a motion by Blake, second by Russell, to approve Resolution 140, 2020.
Okay. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
I have a motion by Blake, second by Carberry Montgomery, to approve Resolution 141, 2020.
Discussion, please vote. That passes. Thank you. Item 9.3 is the private fireworks display request and associated noise waiver at 3936 156th Street. And who's, AJ, are you going to start with this?
Mayor, I'll take this one. Mayor, members of council, we have received a request for the use of a private fireworks display for July 18th, 2020 at 3936 156th Street. As you'll recall, this is the same request that the council had received earlier that failed to move any forward in the council discussion and failed for the lack of second. The city's Fire Chief Jerry Holt received a request, additional request for the same permit for the same activity on a different date for your consideration. We do note that there are individuals who would probably want to speak to this on both sides of the issue. As all of the council members are aware, there are individuals who support and who think that this is not appropriate at this time. So with that, if I would probably look to any of the petitioners who are online to present their issue for the city council's consideration.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Eric Lewis. I am the property owner at 3936. This idea was actually brought me from a neighbor that wanted to have a band perform outside and have some fireworks and an event. And it sounded like a good idea to me, so I decided to move ahead with it. As far as all the current conditions that we're under, I've been to some events outside where they've made very large circles in the ground, which I'm proposing to do to keep people in certain groups, their friends or whoever they're with, their family, that they can maintain in those for the safety of the people.
All right, thank you, Eric. Nicole, did we have one register to speak on this as well, other than Mr. Lewis?
I did receive in the chat from Kelm Bruski. I apologize if I did not say that correctly. Kelm, now would be your time to speak.
Okay, well, Mr. Bruski?
He indicated he's speaking, but we can't hear you, unfortunately. If you'll check the microphone on your device to make sure you're unmuted on the WebEx side. Oh, there we go. So it may be a mute on your device itself.
If we can't hear you, if you could at least maybe briefly type your comments and then Nicole can read those.
Let me unmute the call-in lines in case you've called in that way. Kelm, are you able to speak now? Okay, in the chat, I see just wanted to answer any questions from anyone about the technical aspects of the event.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else? Excuse me?
Can anyone speak on behalf, or did you have to request earlier?
Ideally, if you're on the computer, if you could request in the chat box, and then so we can kind of keep a little. Are you on telephone, or are you on the computer?
I'm on telephone. I couldn't get in the other way.
Okay, sure. Well, why don't you, if you could give your name and address, please, and then we'll let you speak now.
Sure. My name is Jody Gilson Schragi. I sent an email out, but probably too late to everybody. I'm at 4301 159th Street in Urbandale. So I would like to impress upon the board to vote yes to allow Eric to have the fireworks display. We've probably been here 15 years and have enjoyed the fireworks. I think it meets all of our city codes. It's professionally done. And I think the majority of our Urbandale citizens have enjoyed it, especially given this year where we're all, being careful to a degree, and we'll watch from our, decks, or like Eric has said, he'll make his area safe. So I hope that given the city has, I think, approved this for many years, that we can continue to approve it. Yes, the community has possibly grown where we do have obviously more houses, but I still think it meets code, and I think the majority of people still enjoy it. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else on this point online that would like to speak to this item? Okay, hearing none, then I'll ask for a motion in a second.
And I'll ask on this motion if you would go ahead and voice the motion so I can get it right in the system.
Okay. So is there a motion?
This is Ron. I'll make a motion similar to last time. I understand the changing neighborhood, but if that's the case, we should change the statute, or the ordinance rather. This individual has done everything that we've required and has everything set, so I would move that he be allowed to have his fireworks display.
Okay, motion by Poggi.
And this is Adam Obrecht, and I would second that motion. The last app had some errors that were corrected in this one, so my objections were removed by the removal of the errors.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Hi, this is Matt, and I've sat and thought about this a little bit more since last time, and I think I have come around to kind of Ron's perspective, that I don't particularly like it. I if it came before me next week, I would highly recommend to the council and to staff that I am not a particular fan of these private ones. I would actually probably move it towards figuring out a select few individuals, like the 4th of July committee, the city, the schools are the only entities that would be able to do fireworks just generally. But since we do have this mechanism on the books, and I know that we are supposed to be the entity that does so, I'm maybe have swayed slightly the other way, and I do think that I would prefer, and I would ask that after this moving forward, depending on whether this passes or not, we take a heavy look at our fireworks ordinance and we do what we need to do to maybe either get rid of this or really, really figure out a way to really narrow the scope of them moving forward.
Okay. Any other discussion?
This budget, my opinion has not changed from the last meeting. I understand where the lawyers are coming from on this, but I just feel like our community has outgrown the ability to have these in our neighborhoods, and I really wish we would have gotten an ordinance on the books between last application and this application, but I will be voting no.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, then please vote. We're gonna, Nicole, you wanna do a roll call, or are you gonna have a?
I have sent it through the system for the vote.
Okay. All right. And the item passes. All right.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. Item 9.4 then is the closure of the Urbandale Public Swimming Pool. And to introduce this item is our Parks and Rec Director, Jan Herkey. Jan?
If you'll give Jan and I just a moment here, I'll get her set up to present.
You see it? Maybe I jumped too quick. All right, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, tonight presenting in regards to the recommendation for the permanent closure of the pool and future aquatic options. Due to COVID, many of my colleagues and throughout the state of Iowa, we've been challenged with decisions regarding the opening or reopening of the pools and impending safety concerns relating to the pandemic. And our pool, the Urbandale pool, has been closed since March 16th due to the pandemic. And during that closure, staff has analyzed how to provide potential programs and services during the pandemic and into the future. And it included discussions about the future of the facility. And we have had these discussions, I think, since 2008 in regards to the potential closing of the pool, when might be the appropriate time to do that. The pandemic altered the community's ongoing discussion on aquatics in Urbandale, and it fast forwarded this discussion and the timeline to close the pool, and also to seek alternative options for the community if the decision's made to close the pool and potential future decisions about a new aquatic facility. Some of this history I'll just give. I know there might be some other listeners here and just want to be thorough. This certainly is a big decision and big recommendation for the city. The pool was built in 1976, so it's 44 years old. It's owned by the city, but it's built on land owned by the school district. And when it was completed in 1976, the city and the school district entered into a 50-year 2080 lease agreement for the operations and maintenance of the pool. And that agreement, the 50-year agreement, will end in 2026. Again, as we're looking at all different factors regarding this recommendation, certainly taking into consideration the required significant maintenance costs for the pool and the capital cost and annual operating costs. And the pool is averaging approximately $300,000 in subsidy a year. For example, in 2019, there's $572,000 for the operating costs, and the revenues are about $292,000. In addition, since 2008, we've had over $1 million spent on capital and maintenance costs for the pool to keep it operational. And due to the pandemic, again, if we were to remain open, programming would be impacted. Certainly we're feeling that across the city, across all of our programs in regards to the pool, social distancing requirements, and certainly wanting to ensure the safety of our patrons, it would result in changes in our programming, what we could allow, the number of participants, and that would result in less revenue and a greater subsidy required as well. We certainly understand that we have a number of patrons that have used the pool over the years. We have approximately 65,000 patrons that visit the pool in 2019, and this number includes people that entered the pool, so duplicated numbers. And the reason I bring up duplicated is I've had staff research and identify what are unduplicated unique pool program users. And a program user would be people that have participated in swim lessons, fitness classes, pool pass users, and other general pool program participants. And unduplicated means that if a person came one time or 72 times, that one person was counted once. And that's the wanting to get that number to show who is actually using the pool and how many residents are using the pool. As you can see on your screen here, the number is not significant in regards to the overall Urbandale population. We have 2,310 total unique program users of those 1,136 residents. Now, again, this does not include general pool admissions, so open swim, pool rentals. We also lease the pool to Central Iowa Aquatics, it's a private swim club, and the Urbandale School District uses it for PE classes. Now, I have been asked, why can't you give us the unduplicated numbers for those users? And again, we don't record the general pool admissions, their personal information, where they live and how many times they come throughout the year. So it's nearly impossible to calculate the unduplicated numbers of general pool numbers. But again, a significant users of our pool are for those pool programs. Now, our pool usage, certainly we acknowledge that it's provided thousands of residents and non-residents valued programs throughout the year, and we recognize the uniqueness of our pool. And we're being the unique, only indoor public swimming pool in the metro area. But with that said, as I've just mentioned, the age of the facility, ending of the 2080 agreement, maintenance costs, impact of COVID, staff understands the gravity of this recommendation, but the pool will close at some point, and it's an inevitable decision. Now with that, instead of just saying the pool's closed, sorry community, we value our patrons. And Park and Rec Director, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I came up through aquatics. I taught swim lessons. I was a lifeguard. I truly value aquatics and the need for that. Therefore, we are looking at other options for our patrons if the decision is made to close the pool. And those recommendations you'll see here is this past year, staff taught over 1,000 children the water safety and how to be safe around the pool. It's called Josh the Baby Otter, went to the elementary schools and childcare facilities throughout the Urbandale. We'd like to continue that program and expand it even more, reaching more children. And I also wanted to mention in regards to the recommendation, and I wanted to note, if the pool were to close, the boiler that was purchased in 2015 for $80,000 would be repurposed at the Fire Station 42. Other programming opportunities, we visited with a number of facilities in the metro area that provide aquatic services. And examples of those that we have visited with the City of Clive, and obviously this year is a very unique year for every pool and a recreation program, so it wouldn't be a 2020 opportunity, but for 2021, talking with Clive to have the opportunity for Urbandale residents to be allowed to purchase a annual pass or a summer pass there at the Clive rate. And then the city, if approved by City Council, the city could subsidize that difference. Another opportunity, again, certainly realizing we are an indoor pool. So what indoor pool opportunities might we have? And the YMCA, we visited with the YMCA and their leadership, and they offer swim lessons, water aerobics, and lap swim. They are very supportive in working with the City of Urbandale to provide aquatic services for our patrons. If it were approved and the council recommended to continue those discussions, then we would have more specifics of what that might look like and costs and so forth. Also, we have an Urbandale business, the Goldfish Swim School. It's actually right across the street here from City Hall. They provide swim lessons for children ages 4 months to 12 years. So certainly that is the age group that we have the most of our swim lessons at the Urbandale pool as well. In discussions with them and the co-owners and the general manager, they're very excited about the opportunity to work with Urbandale and to provide a special rate for Urbandale residents. And that is something that it's possible even within the next few weeks, if the pool were recommended to be closed, that could begin. So again, I know that we're looking at, it's July tomorrow. Parents are looking for opportunities for swim lessons. Our pool doesn't have that opportunity right now, even if the decision were to make to reopen. There's water in that pool, they're ready to go at Goldfish. I will also mention that initial discussions with the Urbandale Golf and Country Club have been made, and that may be also an opportunity for Urbandale residents where you would not have to join that school or that club to be able to take swim lessons there. So again, these are all opportunities that we are looking for our patrons. At some point, our pool will close. If tonight that decision is made by the City Council, these are opportunities that we would proceed with to give our residents another option. And I guess I just want to close that this is not taken lightly. We value our patrons. And as when we presented this to the Park and Rec Commission, as one of the commissioners members, it's not easy to take away services that patrons are used to and value. And as a recommendation from staff, we feel this is an appropriate time as we move forward. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Jan. Any questions from the council at this point?
Jan, this is Matt Blake, or Councilman Blake. Curiosity, how has this information been pushed out to our community? And how have we made our patrons aware of this potential vote tonight?
We have on Friday, once the council letter went out, and we knew it was going to council, we had created a frequently asked question, and essentially what I just went through, kind of answering different questions, as well as a link to the council letter, was posted on the Parks and Rec website, the city website, specifically on the pool website, as well as on our online registration page. If somebody was going to there for pool information, it would bring them directly to this information. I talked with our marketing communication specialist. He mentioned that there's over 50 views a day since Friday that people were viewing that. So those were the opportunities. We did visit with the superintendent of the school as well, just making him aware that this recommendation was going to council. So those are the ways that we put the word out there, and certainly we talked at staff and administrative level of what seemed to make sense for communicating with the public. This certainly has not, this is not the first time that this discussion has been made about the pool.
Yeah. Thank you, Jan. And again, I don't know if this is the exact moment to bring this up, but I would say from my perspective, again, we released a fairly substantial part of our community's assets potentially closing permanently. We released that idea on Friday, and then 4 or 5 days later, we would vote on it happening. I don't know if that, and again, this has been a continuous issue for years and years. I get that. I understand that. I just don't, to be frank, I didn't even realize this was something we were voting on until I saw the agenda. I was like, oh crap, this is a big thing. So my suggestion, and I don't know whether the rest of the council would support this, is that I would like to look at postponing this at least until our next meeting, give at least 2 more weeks, push this out a little bit on our social media platforms and other ways to let the community know that we're having this vote, just so that and again, it may not even change the outcome. I doubt it probably is not, but I want to make sure that our citizens, a couple months down the road, don't get a call of like, where did this come from? I just want to give our community a little bit more notification and time to digest this before we take this action. At least that's my feeling on it.
And I guess, Matt, on that, and Jen, correct me, Park and Rec had this posted on their agenda, approved it. What was the timeline on that again?
Yeah, initially the city council you had it on your agenda in late May, I believe. The Parks and Recreation Commission had it on the agenda and discussion at their June 17th meeting, and that was a public meeting as well.
So the information's been kind of in the public all month long.
This is Bridget. Just because it's been out in public doesn't mean that anyone other than people that are regularly follow city business have any idea it's going on. I am in full support of deferring this for 2 weeks to do a little bit more aggressive public information campaign, because the last thing I want is, because this is such a significant asset for our community, even though not much of our community is using it, I still think it's something we need to be more proactive in getting information out. So I don't know what that looks like in terms of emotion. If other people support Matt and I's position to defer it 2 weeks to give us a little more opportunity to push it out to the constituencies that use the pool, or just through our social media platforms.
Well, I know we had, before we get to a motion in a second, I know we had some folks that had registered to talk about this. So I'm going to give them an opportunity to speak on this. And first, I think Tom Gaiman had registered to speak. So I think I saw Tom join the meeting. So Tom, I'm going to open it up to you for comments if you'd like first. Tom, are you still there?
I'm here.
I just unmuted
There
you.
you are. Now
Oh,
we can
there
hear
you are.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. Yeah, Mayor, good evening. Council, good evening. Tom Gaiman, 4424 70th Place here in Urbandale. And, I just wanted to maybe echo the comments that both Bridget and Matt have just made. And I say that because I really don't think, and I think in credit to Jan and her entire team, I think there's been a whole lot of analysis done, but it's all been internal, and both for the Parks and Rec and for the council. But I don't think that the residents of Urbandale have a clue that this is even on the agenda. I mean, keep in mind, we're in a COVID situation and have been in a COVID situation since March 19th. City Hall has been closed. City Hall just closed again tonight at 5 o'clock. And so there's not a lot of residents that have a clue that this is going on. And quite frankly, I think transparency is the big question here. And I don't think it's appropriate to try to use the COVID pandemic and maybe the financial issues, particularly in an effort to say this is the right time to close the pool without hearing from some of our users. And I think we need to get the input from the users. If you're going to decommission a community asset, then you should at least take the time to hear from those that are the users. And quite frankly, whether they're an Urbandale resident or a user, it's a revenue generator. And so I just would really, really stress the transparency of getting this at a much higher level of community input. And I commend, what the work that's been done, but now's not the right time to just on a council agenda close the pool. I'm proposing something more like 60 to 90 days because there's a lot of people in this community that don't even have a clue as to that this event is even going to happen. And I think it's just not the Urbandale way of looking at a particular issue and discussing it and making sure that we get the community and the residents and the patrons that use the pool, we need their input. And so I would just ask you to, I don't think 2 weeks is even enough time. I mean, I think it needs to be put in the publications, in the paper and social media, and let the residents at least have an opportunity to speak. And that's all I'm asking is an opportunity to let the residents speak. The pool will close. And and we're going to look to potentially in the years down the road to do some type of a new aquatic center or whatever, pool, aquatic center, or whatever. Well, it's still going to cost dollars. I mean, you're still going to have capital costs. When I researched the competing pools and splash parks and what have you, it's pretty known that none of them make any money. And I don't think that's the intent. I mean, the intent is to have a good amenity for the residents. And so I would just urge you to slow the process down on this one because it is it's a big item. And back to, Councilman Blake's comments, he didn't even know it was on the agenda until tonight. So with that, Mayor, Council, thank you. Thank you for all the good work you guys do.
All right. Thank you, Tom. I think John Hollibrands had also asked to speak to this. John, I'll recognize you.
And this is John Hollibrands, 4217 86th Street. Can you hear me?
Can, John.
Okay, coming through. All right. Well, first of all, I don't think I can add a whole lot to other than to repeat a lot of what was just said by Mr. Gaiman. But I'll I will bring up one thing here. When you had your virtual work session way back May 19th, prior to your council meeting, Ron Pogge said in that work session that the pool doesn't have very many friends at City Hall. Well, it does have one, and that's our mayor, Bob Andrew. And whether this pool survives or not, Bob needs recognition and thanks for keeping the pool open this long. And behind the scenes, he's gone through a lot of stuff in regard to this pool that a lot of folks don't necessarily know about. Anyway, he deserves thanks on that. So, anyway, after I heard, I listened in on your work session via telephone, and I could see obviously from the conversation which way things are going. So after that meeting, I called Bob and asked him if he was going to be able to save this pool one more time. And he said, I don't think so. He says the majority of the votes are to close it. So knowing that, I pretty much wrote it off and went out to the Lifetime Athletic Center, 10 times the cost. And quite the contrast. I'm astounded at the level of business out there. And there are obviously no concerns on the part of the customers about spacing or anything else whatsoever. There are no worries about anything. You know, it certainly makes you wonder between what I saw. I was out there swimming today. Between what I saw out there today, which I've seen repeatedly the last several weeks, and here we have a council meeting and we can't even get all the people in one room. I don't know who's right and who's wrong, but I sure boggles the mind. Anyway, I'm with Mr. Gaiman. Let's get this thing delayed until there's no rush on it. You just stand there for a while. If there's no rush for anything, unless somebody is pushing an agenda that is afraid that it won't stand up to public scrutiny. So anyway, let's delay it to a minimum of six weeks, 90 days, till we get back to regular meetings, and let's see what kind of public reaction we get, if any. And let's go on. Now, one other thing here. Also, Jan mentioned that the frequently asked question thing was on the websites. Now, I'm not good with internet, but as of 3:30 this afternoon, all I could find on the website myself, not to say it isn't there, but all I could find on the website was that the pool and the senior center would remain closed until at least July 6th. Okay. Now, if you're treating everything equally, then you could say, well, we're going to close the senior center also. Now, I'm kind of playing some word games here, but this stuff may be out there for some people, but it sure ain't for dummies like me. Anyway, I think I've talked enough, and I thank you. Appreciate it. Bye.
Mayor, this is David. This is David Russell. I got a question for Jan. Jan, are you still on?
Yes, I'm here.
If we did delay this, whether it's 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever, the pool would remain closed anyway, correct?
Yeah, right now the pool is closed, drained, so we're not paying for pool chemicals or heating of the water.
Well, my question is then, is there a downside to waiting 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 months, or 9 weeks, whatever time frame that would be? Do you see any downside to delaying here a few weeks?
If residents are looking for alternative swim opportunities, such as swim lessons at other facilities, that would essentially eliminate that. Certainly, we can give them that information of where those are, but developing partnerships, and if the city were to provide subsidies, if the pool were to close, some of those subsidies that we do for current operations could go toward the possibility of assisting with programs at other facilities.
Okay. So I guess I'm trying to just determine, do you see a downside to waiting a few weeks before we make a final decision here?
I'd say the downside is any chance of alternative options would pretty much be eliminated. I think we're looking at the month of July for options for swim lessons at other facilities or water aerobics or lap swims or things like that if we were to develop these partnerships. If that's not the top priority right now is to find alternatives for our residents, we certainly can, I mean, certainly the council's prerogative. I don't know, I mean, we have no idea. We have never closed for this, and our facility maintenance coordinator, it might be half in jest and might not, but when you start to try to turn back on the equipment there at the age it has, the longer you go, and again, I don't know that for sure. You could turn on the equipment and it could work no problem, but that is one thing, but I don't know the validity of that until you actually do it, so.
And this is Adam.
Oh, go ahead, Adam.
And so if we delay, is there any staff implications? So do we have staff basically on furlough or waiting for a decision that they're not able to maybe go find employment elsewhere if we delay our decision?
We have one full-time staff person and 2 permanent part-time staff, and then certainly all of our lifeguards and water safety instructors and fitness instructors have been furloughed. The full-time staff person has been, to this date, we've been working with other rec programs, helping at the senior center and so forth. The 2 permanent part-time staff have been furloughed to date.
And so if we delay, then that kind of puts them in limbo for a period of time, and as well as all the lifeguards and swim instructors?
Certainly. We don't know if the lifeguards and other instructors have pursued other opportunities, but it would certainly impact those 3 staff people.
This is Ron, and I'm certainly not, I don't think there's any reason to rush to have this vote now. I think we can have it later because I think the consensus the last time the council discussed it was clearly to leave it closed when there were restrictions because of the pandemic on, you know, the substantially limiting the number of people who could use it. And so, matter of fact, you know, I think we ought to be more forceful and tell people, hey, it's closed for the indefinite future because I don't see it opening, in all honesty, this year or probably for a whole year. And I think we can take our time to do it. I'd also encourage Parks and Rec to do more investigation of partnerships. Bob Layton, back when this first came up, when I first got on the council many years ago, came up with the plan to subsidize people going to private clubs within Urbandale and prove that everybody who wanted to could go. We could pay them all money and still be cheaper than running our own facility. So I would encourage Parks and Rec to explore. I don't think they ought to be outside Urbandale. I think we got some people here, and explore what kind of partnerships we can get with the private pools and stuff, and for lessons or use, and see if we can't work out some plan for that. But you know, it's not going to happen right away, and I don't expect Parks and Recs to come in 2 weeks with a bunch of partnerships all lined up. But I don't. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We do what we can, and we try to take the long-term view.
All right. Go ahead, Bridget.
What's preventing us from engaging in these interim partnerships with, say, Goldfish or Urbandale Golf and Country Club for lessons for this summer? And with the knowledge that we know we won't open this summer.
We certainly could, I mean, at the direction of the council, and bring before you a proposed, it's more of the, our thought process was the subsidy. And if there's still costs at the current pool, obviously much reduced. But if that's something the council were supportive of and wanting to provide additional subsidy for alternate options while our pool is closed, we certainly can pursue that.
Because I would be in favor of doing alternatives access for this summer. And then I guess I feel like a shorter time period than 60 to 90 days is sufficient, but I will defer to the rest of the council on what they think is appropriate to defer this decision. I already spoke my piece on doing further outreach, but I would like us to be able to approve subsidy and partnerships for the remainder of this summer. And I know that's a timely thing, so if there's something we can do tonight or in 2 weeks, I know Clive starts their lessons next week. I don't know about any of the other facilities though.
Regarding the subsidies, Jan, if we do move forward with subsidies, what kind of costs are you talking about? And would that come out of your Parks and Rec budget? When we talk about subsidies, what do we mean?
Well, nothing has been finalized with these different entities, with Goldfish and with YMCA, and with Urbandale Golf and Country Club. That's where we're looking for some direction tonight, and we certainly can come back to you of specifically what that would mean. And certainly that would be direction from the city manager and you as the council of I'd anticipate that would be from the pool operations budget.
So Jan, have you broken down what is the current cost of sustaining the way that the status quo? Again, let's say we extended 4 weeks. Let's just say that more than to do 1 month to get this out to the community to review. What do you have any idea what that would potentially cost to do that? And then the difference, I'm assuming, is where you were thinking these partnerships would be the savings in operation. So I'm assuming that's the issue. You probably don't have that answer, but do you have at least what would be 1 month to maintain?
Well, our costs, again, certainly have gone down since March, the operations for the pool. Specific month per month, I don't have that information specific of what that impact would be in regards to the subsidy. Obviously, we need to finalize that with these entities. I know talking with Goldfish today and their management, it's something that we could turn around in 2 weeks. I believe with Urbandale Golf and Country Club as well. YMCA is waiting for a decision and direction tonight for us to sit down with as well with them to see what that might look like. So I would anticipate in 2 weeks we could at least have a little bit more specifics of what that might look like for our patrons. Again, as we had mentioned, we have a window of opportunity here for the summer if we're talking outdoor facility. Indoor facilities, I guess kids going back to school does have that impact. But specific numbers we don't have. We have pretty good feel of what it might be, but I'd certainly want to finalize that with these businesses and organizations.
And this is Ron again, and Jan, I'd just throw my 2 cents in here that I think any subsidy has to be based on the people who actually participate and use it, rather than just a flat fee to these different entities. Because I think it needs to be very specific to people who are there.
Well, is there?
Yeah, Bob, I'll make a motion if that's what you're looking for.
Well, let's before we get there, Adam. Let me just. I am gonna. Wow. Did we have anybody else, Nicole, that wanted to speak to this that you had registered? I just want to make sure, give any opportunity to the public to speak on this.
I did not have anyone additional registered. I can unmute the call-in line. if there was anyone there, or if you're on via the WebEx on a computer, if you unmute now.
Okay, I'm not hearing anyone, so Adam, if you want to make a motion, then I'll turn back to you. I just want to give everybody a last chance to speak on it.
Yeah, so I was going to make a motion, then make a comment after the motion gets maybe seconded. And the motion was to table this agenda item until the July 28th meeting.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And I'll second it.
Okay, I think Matt second by Blake.
And the only comment thing was on the FAQ, there's a line at the bottom of it that talks about that we're intending on a bond referendum, and we talk about the replacement pool in the paragraph above, and I would just like that last line removed. Yeah, thank you.
So motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Would the motion then include the removal of that last line on page 6 of the frequently asked questions?
I don't think that's actually in the motion itself. I think that's more something that is just commentary. I don't think that wasn't originally ratified by the council. We'll take a look at it and edit as necessary. But we have a motion and a second to table this till July 28th. Any further discussion?
I would just like to reiterate my point again. It's not part of the motion, but I would highly recommend this being pushed out on social media and a variety of other places to make sure that we are doing whatever we can to make sure the public knows.
Okay. Nicole, did you want to do a voice vote or do you want to record it? How do you have it in the system?
Are you seeing it come through on your iPads for voting?
I have a vote here.
Excellent.
Yes, I have it at the table of the pool till July 28th. I have it on the iPad.
Okay, please vote.
Mayor, would you like a motion to allow Parks and Rec to negotiate agreements for summer 2020 with outside organizations related to swimming aquatics?
Let's before we get to there, do we have a result on the vote? I don't see it on my end.
Well, I apologize. I thought I had it sharing.
It was 5 ayes.
Okay. Do you see it on your screen now?
Yep.
It was five in favor. So
okay, that passes. Thank you. And then as far as that, Bridget, I guess I was going to get to that. I was going to just maybe suggest it's not necessarily an action item, but is there a consensus to direct staff to move forward on negotiating some things to review at that same July 28 meeting?
Would we then at that time then ratify it?
Well, assuming that the Jan can negotiate something that, subject to the city council approval, yes.
Okay.
Well, I think waiting till the July 28th meeting is not going to work because that's almost the end of the swim season. So I think we need something from Jan in 2 weeks.
I don't know that we need to rush it through in 2 weeks. I mean, I think that Goldfish is a year-round pool. There's a lot of indoor pools. The only one outdoor is either Clive or the Golf and Country Club. And I think we do what we can, but I don't want to make staff drop everything during their busiest time of the year to try to get this done in a couple of weeks. They can get some done before then, fine, but
maybe just come up if they are done in 2 weeks, bring it before that time, but have it at least for the end of the month meeting. just maybe that way. And Mike, another quick follow-up. It sounded like, Jan, do we need to specifically through city council policy make sure that our pool remains closed through the season and through the remaining month? Do we need to dictate that as well, or is that already decided?
Right now it's closed, and I guess some direction of what, because we had said at least through July 6th, so it would be helpful some direction of do we give a time frame or just put it's closed until further notice?
Well, I think it's treated as the same as any other city facility right now. That it's closed until further notice. AJ, would you agree on that part?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, there's certainly, given a little bit of the uncertainty of what's going on this summer with all the virus issues and what we understand from the other outside pools, I think closing till further notice gives us the most flexibility. But I think realistically, if the council's decision is to wait till the end of July to make some final determination on the future of the pool, then for us, that since we're indoor, if the council decides that we're going to move it forward, or if COVID keeps us from opening it at all this calendar year, I think that's probably less of an issue for us. The issue is probably more of where we're directing folks now who want to take advantage of their summertime to get lessons in. I think we can accomplish that. And as I said, we can start directing. If the council is not going to take action on this item to consider until the end of July, then yeah, I think we need to start directing our residents who are making inquiries. We are not offering lessons. You need to contact one of these facilities for more information. And if we can negotiate something that says, if someone registers and you can prove, for example, they're an Urbandale resident, if that's what the parameters are, that the city will reimburse you, pick a number, $10 a lesson or whatever it may be. There's something yet to be determined. But that had always been kind of the discussion about, with our City of Clive discussions previously, is that they sell season passes that are resident, non-resident. Their daily fees are the same for anybody. If you do a resident pass, the residency issue for the season passes, you would just charge them, everybody would get the Clive rate, and then Clive would demonstrate to us how many Urbandale residents bought season passes, and we would reimburse them the difference. And so that was kind of the philosophy back when we talked about it a couple of years ago. With the private clubs, my guess is, and Jan would know better, there's probably not a residency, non-residency fee. And so there we would have to negotiate a reimbursement to that club or to that organization.
Right.
So if I may weigh in here, if I heard you correctly, perhaps we put the Urbandale pool is closed at least through the summer season. I just want to make sure residents know that they might be thinking July 7th will be open for lessons. We want to be fair to our patrons.
Yeah, I think we say at least through the summer it's closed, and because it's an indoor pool, I don't see any realistic hope of getting it open anytime soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't put a date on it. I would just say in closed till further action by the council.
Okay. All right. Well,
then, Mr. Mayor, I think we're probably safe by saying it's closed until further notice.
Yes, that's what I was just thinking. Just saying indefinitely or until further notice. Yep.
Adam doesn't realize how many calls we'd get to change our votes.
And then we'll see where Jan is at the next meeting on the negotiations. We'll take it from there.
So we'll be getting an update from Jan at the 14th. I think that's the date meeting.
Yeah, as we get closer, I think AJ and Jan and I will talk, and we'll see what we have to if there's anything we can at that point put on the agenda for the 14th meeting.
Great.
Yep. Okay, that takes us to the end of our regular agenda. Mayor and council items is item 10. David? Dave, did you have anything? Dave? Dave Russell?
No, just have a safe July 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, just everybody
right.
have a safe July 4th.
All right,
Great weekend.
thanks. Thank you, Dave. Matt?
Yes, I know some of you had reached out to get buttons for the July 4th. I apologize, I'm not there in person to give them. I highlight the 4th of July. Facebook does post when you can and cannot go purchase those. Highly recommend taking some time to do that. And the other issue I'd like to mention is I would like to say thank you to everybody also for participating in the forum. I think it was fairly successful when it came to trying to get members of our community to share their stories. I thought it was, we had some very impactful ones. I was particularly impressed by a 16-year-old girl and her stories. And if anybody's curious, I did get her. And so if anybody wants to send a message or anything, I do have that contact info. We continue the momentum on that particular issue as we continue to go forward. I know that this is not something that we are going to be taking lightly, that this is going to take considerable amount of time. And I know that we are all, or at least I know that I'm on board. I shouldn't say all, I'm not throwing you all in, but that I'm at least, that we will continue to work in progress on this issue. And I look forward to doing anything I can to continue to move the agenda and move the ball forward. And I hope that, I think last week, the forum was a first good step. And I hope that we take a look at maybe something like a task force or some kind of work session or something that we can do to show that our community that we're continuing the conversation. And if we have those type of workforce and task force, that we are soliciting citizens to be in those conversations with us. And so that's it for me.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Ron?
Yeah, we saw this week how divisive these private fireworks displays can be. People on both sides get pretty adamant and pretty worked up about it. I'd like staff to look at an amendment to our ordinance prohibiting them except for the fireworks, 4th of July or the school district, which I understand occasionally has fireworks, so we can bring it up on a vote without a particular private individual being sponsoring it and vote whether or not we should or shouldn't have them. I think we need to separate that from the fact somebody is in front of us asking for it. So I see Bob's there. He doesn't have anything to do, so he may as well work on an amendment to the ordinance.
All right. Thanks, Ron. Bridget. You're muted yet, Bridget. You're muted. There you go.
Thanks, Bob. It's a loud one at my house tonight. I'll echo what Matt said. I think we took a really important first step, but it was quite obvious to me that it was a very small step that we took, and we need to continue to do more outreach. I mean, we did what we could in the times that we're in right now. I know I've discussed with the mayor, I think, and AJ about possibly having a work session. I think this is something we need to, every day that goes by, we are look less responsive to what's going on in our community. So I'm hopeful that we can continue forward action on this in the near future. Not sure what that looks like. I think a work session would be in order to discuss what some of those forward steps would be. And I didn't quite follow what Ron said about the ordinance, other than the mayor was going to write it. But I would like to see
our city attorney, the other Bob.
Oh, okay. Well, we got two good Bobs to work on it. Yep. I would like to see something that prohibits private fireworks displays and only allows municipality or like the Lions Club or the school district or groups like that. So I think AJ and I talked about that this afternoon. So I think those are the two things that that I have.
Okay, thank you, Bridget. Adam.
Yeah, just echo the comments about changing the fireworks ordinance. While this one went through the current process, I think the process obviously needs to change as much as it was discussed. Second is with the pool. Yeah, Jan, I hope you find some good options out there you can bring back to us to get swim lessons for kids and get water safety as part of our community, because it's definitely important. And last was more for the mayor and AJ. Got to listen in to another governing body's discussions last night, and it was amazing how much they're deferring to other entities for decisions. So thanks to Bob and AJ for being decisive on decisions and making decisions and showing us kind of what leadership looks like instead of always deferring to others to make those choices. So thank you to you guys.
All right, thank you, Adam. And yeah, again, thanks to everybody for the pivot today. Just as I said, as I sat through a couple meetings this morning and listening to the statistics and hearing the news, I just felt it was the right thing to do moving forward. And we'll keep monitoring it, but I think with the potential of having some folks wanting to come tonight to speak on a couple of the issues, I just felt it was better to do it virtually to keep everyone safe. And for the time being, also in our facilities, Polk County is closed until at least August 1. Des Moines closed till at least July 20, so we're not certainly out of the norm anywhere else. So we'll keep monitoring it. I think our first priority is to keep our employees and keep our residents safe, and that's what I want to do. And secondly, related to that, for the 4th of July, we are going forward with the fireworks display at Walker Johnston, and I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe 4th of July. But just again, remind folks, first of all, no private fireworks allowed in the city of Urbandale, so please keep that in mind. Reminder there, and our police will be out. Just again, our police are taxed as much as possible during the 4th of July holiday. So if you have them going off, please call the non-emergency number, and just know that sometimes our police are not going to be able to catch someone shooting off fireworks at all, but they'll do the best job they can given the circumstances. And the other part of it is for the public display. It's going to be a nice display at Walker Johnston, but again, the priority is for folks to stay safe. So please practice those safe social distancing practices. If you're going to go out to watch the fireworks display, please keep in mind that you need to keep yourself safe and keep others safe. So I want to encourage that as well. So, and then moving forward, yes, we will. I still have some different thoughts. I'll be probably bringing something forward, and again, it'll depend on what we can do as far as having a meeting. But I have some thoughts I want to put together, and I will be getting something out to the council here in the next coming days and weeks. So with that, thank you, everyone.
Mayor, what were you exactly referring to in those last comments about having a work session or follow up from the
follow-up from the listening session? Okay. Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm that's what you're talking about.
Yep. Sorry. With that, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe 4th.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.